Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
No, Kelly since he was a puppy. My throat is acting up, so I have a piece of gum which I'll remove shortly and put a lozenge in. So, okay, I'm an alcoholic. My name's Susan.
Hi, Susan.
And I was asked to come and speak with you about service. My sobriety date is 1 January 1989. I've been sober a while. Really longer than I drank, I guess. I started drinking, I'm going to qualify a little bit. I started drinking in my teens, off and on. I loved to drink, but I didn't drink every day. I was in school. And I got married at 18, and we moved to Texas, and I couldn't even drink in Texas because you had to be 21. So I went a long time without really drinking or anything else. I never did anything else. Until the late 80s, when my drinking got out of control. I told myself that I was okay. I had a good job. I had everything that I thought I should have. But I was miserable. All the things that I had expected to happen at that time had happened, and I still was miserable. Circumstances, money, home, everything. Which gave me, we got to have a real good excuser built in. Gave me reason to drink. And I drank until I discovered the program and realized that this was where I needed to go. It's as simple as that. I didn't want to. I didn't want to quit drinking. I loved it. I didn't love the effects or the results, but I loved to drink, and it was terrifying to me to picture my life without alcohol. But I knew that I had to do something, and reluctantly I went to Cary one night and picked up a white chip. And then came the reality of not drinking. And y'all know that's a brutal reality. So I stayed in meetings. I stayed around a sponsor. I'm going to talk about sponsorship a little bit. And by staying in meetings, I was lucky enough to be around people who did service work and who talked about what they did. And it gave me the idea that that's maybe what I needed to do too. So I remember my first district meeting was actually in Whiteville before they moved the district. And I went with a couple of people that I really admired from a meeting that I went to on Monday nights in Smithfield. I went to meetings everywhere to go every day. And it was my first district meeting. It was a little room about half this size, and I thought, what's this all about? Why are they spending their afternoon here? Really, I did think that. But what I saw was, and didn't even realize it, people who really cared about Alcoholics Anonymous and were willing to leave their Sunday afternoon activities, I'm not going to say give up, but leave them to come and sit in a little room and talk about how to help people get sober, keep sober. And when I began to realize that, I began to get a little comprehension of what service was about. And it's anything that helps us to reach a fellow sufferer, service, or to help somebody stay sober, just our basic principle. And that's pretty simple. There are a lot of ways to do that. And I suggest if you haven't done any of the things that you could do, maybe you pick something small and start with that, because that's what I did. I made coffee, I cleaned ashtrays, answered the phone when the hut had a phone, and I always I was with my sponsor all the time. So these new girls would come along and I would go, I can't help them. I don't have enough time, recovery or anything. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm kind of disjointed, but you'll understand. Over the years, I've had the privilege to serve in many ways. I've been a GSR, I've been a coffee maker, ashtray cleaner, checked the urinals for cigarette butts at the old First Home Group. GSR, I've been DCM. I was secretary of the first time the district started meeting here, we weren't always District 50. We were part of another district, a larger district. And we split. And Mike E. asked me if I would be secretary. Well, I couldn't type. I didn't have any abilities, but I was supposed to say yes, so I said yes, and I took all that, wrote it down, everything I could. I was pretty good at taking things down. rewrote it, and went to IGA and copied all the stuff that I'd written and took it to the district meeting. I thought, this got to be an easier way than this. That's what I did, because that's what I was supposed to do. And, you know, it's easy to find reasons not to do things. The way I feel, I got too much going on. What is I hear all the time? My plate's too full. But I was smart enough to realize that was not going to be a good idea to be that way. If somebody asked me to do something, I was supposed to do it. And that made it real clear. I didn't have to decide. I've chaired a lot of meetings. I think we all do if we stay sober a while. I can't even count how many meetings. Service just isn't a job that I do or you do. It's about the heart we bring to it, why we do it. And if my heart was not wholly there, I knew it would come. That was just my experience. Service has helped me just as much as I've maybe helped others, maybe more. It gave me purpose. It gave me a place. It gave me dignity that I lost during my drinking, and I don't think I had any when I started here. The most rewarding service and the most frustrating has been sponsoring people. I was fortunate enough to have good sponsorship. I've always had a sponsor. The sponsor I have now, I met doing service work at the area level, Donna B. She's just incredible. And with all her physical problems and handicaps, she's always been there. She's always done what she needed to do, what the area needed for her to do. She's very involved still, and she's like me, she's not a spring chicken, but she doesn't even think about it. She just does it. In my experience, watching people, I like to watch what people do. Try to learn from it, or I envy them, or I feel sorry for them, or whatever, but I watch people. And the people I watched who were the happiest and the most successful in life, not necessarily anywhere else, were the ones that were deeply involved in service. Some of you, I don't know if 2 or 3 of you were able to go to Tom I's ceremony in Sanford one night, and the place, he's deceased now, Tom I. Vester. The place was huge and it was packed. And it was beautiful. There were so many people who wanted to honor him. It was just an endless train of people. And he was just like, oh, well. And that was the kind of person that I've always wanted to be. Just do it because it needs doing. Not look for anything else. And by doing things that way, I'm never disappointed. I'm never dissatisfied. I'm never blaming people for how I don't feel. You know, we don't look for honor in service work. If we do, we're in trouble because we're not going to ever get as much as we want. Like anything, we never get as much as we want. So we do it because it's the thing to do. I've always had a sponsor. I learned that they were not just about talking about my problems, but to help me with working the steps. And lots of times I would call my first sponsor and like we do when we're new. And then she would take me right back to, have you done your 4-step yet? Have you done your 5th step yet? Are your 6-step ready? Always. And then when I moved to another sponsor, I chose her after that one didn't work out anymore. She started drinking. I chose her because she would always say that she loved God and she knew God loved her. Well, I didn't really quite sure about God loving me. So I thought, I think that's something I'd like to. Her name was Jean McGranahan. And she was a blessing to me. She passed away from cancer several years ago, like 10 or 15. I've got her picture still. And she taught me grace, the grace that we can have in sponsorship and in Alcoholics Anonymous. She was just amazing. And finally I asked her, what do you mean when you say you know God loves you? And she said, I wondered when you were ever going to ask me that. Because I just expect people to know what I want and need. And so we talked about that and got started with that, and it was wonderful. When she passed away, I had to find another sponsor. That was Jana L. She was Jana L. in Wilmington. And man, she was hardcore. She's softened now. She told me the last time I saw her, she doesn't sponsor that way. I mean, I felt like a newcomer. There was no way I could do everything she wanted me to do the right way she wanted me to do it. But it was good experience for me, because it taught me a lot about how to sponsor. She did fine, and she told me one day it just doesn't feel connected to me, so she fired me. So I don't know, but then that's how I found Donna. I knew her from what she had done, not from just watching her or anything, but watching her in service work at the area level. And she was just like this little glowy person. She really does have like a little aura around her. And we were at midwinter or some conference, and she was sitting down for me, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I was thinking, I've got to find a sponsor. We don't ask her about that. What am I going to do? What am I going to... You know how self-centered like we can get when we're in the middle of something. And I looked down at her and I thought, I wonder if she would sponsor me. So I got up before the meeting started and I went down and I asked her, I said, Donna. She said, hi. I said, do you believe in the Holy Spirit? She said, I sure do. I said, will you be my sponsor? Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of, I don't know why I asked her that. It just was important to me that she understood where I was. And I won't talk any more religion anymore, but it was just, okay. And when I met with her the first time in Chapel Hill, I did another fifth step with her. Some things had been going on in my head more than anywhere else, and I was a mess. And so I asked her if I could just take some time and do a fifth step. And it was so healing for me. And I wanted her to know everything about me that I could tell her, good and bad. If she was going to help me, she needed to know how I thought, as crazy as that was, embarrassing, whatever. And we've been together ever since. I never expected my sponsor to solve my problems or even tell me what to do. Most of them would suggest that I ask myself, what do you think you should do? And what I'm trying to say is I learned how to sponsor from being sponsored. Not to fix anybody, not to dictate anything. I was never dictated to. I've sponsored women who were eager, some were angry, and some were just going through the motions so they could say they had a sponsor. Sponsorship can be one of the most rewarding things in my life and one of the most frustrating, because I know that in my experience in the beginning, I was cared for. And people tried to help me, and I accepted it, and I did. I acted on that. And when I came into recovery, I'm not going to criticize anybody, and found trying to help some women, they didn't care. And I thought, why don't you care? I care. And I've been told more than once that I care more than they do. But that didn't matter because I was supposed to do for me what had been done for me. And that's what worked. It helped me always and gave me gratitude. I'm going to tell a little story about one of my sponsees because I never know what's a blessing or an epiphany, really, a realization. I sponsored a girl who was, she was a beautiful, wonderful girl who had, because of her alcoholism, kind of ruined her marriage. And she separated from her husband. She didn't want to go back. He wanted her to come back, and she didn't want to go back because she was doing what she wanted to do. She was dating guys and having a good time, and she's very pretty, so she got a lot of attention. And so she didn't go back to him. She called me one morning early, before light. She was crying so hard, I couldn't understand her. She was just sobbing. I could barely make out what she was saying. I sat on my edge of my bed in the dark, just listening to her. She still loved her husband. She needed to come see me because that morning his marriage hit her like a freight train. In that moment, I didn't have any advice. I couldn't fix it, but I could be there, and that's what service sometimes really is. There was a real blessing in that. I've been sober a good while then, several years. And I never could quite get it that when I was around in the beginning, these people cared about me. I knew they were nice to me and they tried to help me. I mean, that they cared about me. And it's never connected. How could that be? They don't even know me. Sometime during that episode with her on my front porch, tears, snot everywhere. And I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I loved her. My heart just opened to her. And before that, I was frustrated. I wanted to go back to bed, and how could she do this on Sunday morning, and blah, blah, blah. And then seeing her, really looking at her and really listening to her, I loved her. And that changed my whole life because it taught me, showed me how people loved me when I never really understood that. How can you say you love me when you don't know me or you don't know what I've done? And I did. And I still do love her. I still love the girls that I sponsor. And I don't know how, why, when, where that happened except for that one morning when my heart opened. So whatever they do and however they do it, I still care about them. There's some I worry about still, even though I don't see them anymore. There's some that I worry about and I do see. But that's the way it is. But what I've had to learn was not to try to fix them. And if they didn't do what I suggested, not to try to be angry with them, because they hardly ever do. So, if you're new and you're wondering whether service matters, I can promise you it does. It might not always be easy, but it will give you more than you expect. It gave me more every time. It will teach you how to love. It taught me how to love, how to listen, and how to live in this world without running from it. I was always a runner. Didn't like it, left. If nobody's told you today, we need you. Alcoholics Anonymous needs you. There's always room for another chair to be put out, another coffee pot to be filled, another heart to be heard. It's easy to talk about service as if it's all neat and tidy, like we always show up full of love and gratitude. But the truth is, sometimes I've said yes to a commitment when I didn't feel like it, didn't want to. Some girl called me today and she said, I'm just not feeling it. And I said, do it anyway. Because that's what you have to do. I've gone to district meetings when I was tired, listened to inventories when my own heart was aching, and answered calls in the middle of the night, or dinner, or lunch, or whatever. Because that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's what was done for me. There's no real virtue to that. I think it's just a responsibility that we have. Every time I got out of myself and showed up, there was a reward of some kind. Sometimes it was a new perspective on people, on me, on things. Sometimes it was a peace. Sometimes it was just knowing that I'd stayed sober that day, and by doing that, I was able to help somebody else stay sober. There have been seasons when service felt like a burden to me, especially when I wasn't well, and others when it became a lifeline. I still had commitments. I still had women calling. I still had meetings to chair. And I'll be honest with you, the responsibility saved me. I've been through some rough, everybody goes through rough times. Not because of it distracted me, but because it reminded me that even when I'm hurting, I have something to give and there's somebody else who's hurting more than I am. Service work taught me to be a part of we. I used to be the kind of person who didn't want to rely on anybody. I wanted to run my own show. In fact, I was proud of being independent, which in my case was just a fancy word for lonely, stubborn, belligerent, hostile. But AA doesn't run on independence, it runs on interdependence and on our leaning on each other, learning from each other and growing together. All in my years since I've been sober, I've never seen anyone who does this alone. I've watched quiet newcomers take on a coffee commitment and light up as people start remembering their names. That's a good feeling. I've watched people who swore they'd never sponsor anyone take a chance and find their own story healing in the process. I've seen people serve with humility and heart, and people who learn from their mistakes and keep showing up anyway. And every one of them has taught me something if I just pay attention to them, not me. If you're wondering what your next right thing might be, maybe it's as simple as raising your hand, saying yes, asking someone you know how to help, or can you help, or just showing up early and staying a few minutes after. Because when we serve, we carry the message, and we carry each other. To me, that's the miracle of the program. One of the most beautiful things I've learned through service is that I don't have to be somebody special to make a difference. I just have to show up, stay sober, and be willing to listen. Sometimes we think service has to be big or official to really matter, but some of the most powerful acts of service I've seen in AA have been small, quiet, and deeply human. Like somebody sitting with a newcomer after the meeting, someone giving their phone numbers and actually answering when it rings, someone saying, I've been where you are. You're not alone. That is the real heartbeat of AA, not the titles or the motions we pass in district meetings, but the way we carry each other through this messy, beautiful process of staying sober and learning to live. I've come to understand that service is not just something I do, but something I am. It's like I'm an alcoholic. I'm not doing alcoholism. I am an alcoholic. It's a box I check as to how I stay spiritually awake. It's how I stay grateful. It's how I practice the principles of this program in all my affairs, not just when I'm sitting in a folding chair in a church basement or whatever, or when I'm out in the world trying to be a loving, responsible human being. If you're still wondering if you have anything to give, I want you to know you already do. If you're sober today, you have something in common with somebody and something somebody else needs. And every time you say yes, whether it's to stacking chairs or taking a call or working somebody through a step, you're helping keep this whole beautiful thing alive. We don't always see the results of our service, but we trust the process. We plant seeds, we pass the torch. And one day someone will stand up in a room like this and say, I'm sober because somebody made coffee, because someone took my call, because someone cared enough to be there. That's really what I have. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. I'm deeply grateful. And I'm going to continue, I hope, to say yes. Thank you. That's it.